Interestingly, when you learn about classroom management strategies in education, money in the bank is one of the strategies. And that's called money in the bank.
There
It
you
is
go.
that time that you've invested with a student in knowing their name, finding out about them, checking in on them if they're not feeling good, helping them out when you may not have had to, or just going that extra mile with them. That's money in the bank. And when you need to make a withdrawal, you can, because you've put that goodwill there.
Yeah.
And if people understood that, it's such a simple concept. And if people understood money in the bank, it would be it would make things so much easier for people. If you are in a workplace and you know someone's name, you know something about them, and you do your best to make them feel safe and included, and you ask them, random questions like, how was your weekend? Or, oh, just checking in on you. You don't seem like you're doing, you don't seem like you're feeling the best. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Every time you do that, it's a deposit.
Yes.
And then later, when we need that person for something, we
Yes.
can withdraw on that money that we've put in, that goodwill that we have been building up over time. It's a super simple concept.
And you know what, also connected to school, because organisations do often treat their staff as children, I find the staff will often act like children.
If you treat them like children, they'll behave like children.
Yeah, and then that whole idea of putting money in the bank, it ties into the other scenario where we've got the more naughty staff member, right?
Love that, yes.
So they have been brought up, I think must be, by people going, get away with what you can, because that's been their approach.
Yeah.
I can think of a terrible example where the person basically did major injury to several people around them for approximately 10 years, was never called up on it. And when I was coaching their manager and said something has to be done, the manager they never admitted it, but because no action was taken, they were too frightened.
Yeah.
Because this person was potentially some form of personality disorder.
Yeah, that's tricky.
Certainly in my language, a very unreasonable person.
Yes.
And so they just let the injury go on to these other people. One of the people impacted, I would not be surprised at all if they were on the phone to Lifeline. Yeah. I'm very grateful that they're still alive.
That's where it gets for people.
Life ruining.
It is life ruining for people. And I think this is the thing we've got to understand is this is where this is such an incredibly interesting topic and why it's so layered. If you work in an organisation where harm to people is done and allowed, people are not going to feel at all psychologically safe.
No.
Because there's no boundaries.
No.
There's no boundaries. There's no expectations, right? So if you're letting one person go around and terrorise teams, which happens, we've seen it
a lot.
You have basically said to the whole organisation and your whole team that there are no standards. You will not be held to account. People don't feel safe when there's no boundaries and there's no accountability.
No.
That lack of accountability means lack of psychological safety, means risks are everywhere.
Yep.
People won't speak up.
No. And it's such a good point, because even if they're not the target of the bully, they're watching that.
They're watching.
That behaviour is happening.
The standard you walk past is the standard you accept.
That's right. I love that line. And do you know what else I think? I think one of people's number one triggers for demotivation is feeling a lack of fairness.
Absolutely.
People hate a lack of fairness.
People hate lack of fairness.
And when I think of this character...
it's one of the pillars of psychological safety is fairness.
Do you know them all?
So fairness is one, that fairness, transparency, trust, teamwork, all of these things are sort of, so there's multiple pillars of psychological safety, and then there's stages of psychological safety, which is inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. Fairness is a massive one.
Massive one, right? So we might either add those as a link or tell people where they can read more about this,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Also, we might be able to provide versions of, even example versions of the care plans and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think really there are a lot of very well-intentioned people who would do all of this, but more than anything are in organisations where if it hasn't been handled well, they wouldn't know where to start.
No, they don't. And this is the problem. When, you'll often hear there's a new manager that's come in and there's a team where someone has been running, running ragged through the team, and they've gotten away with it for years because this is the thing, and especially around, bullying. You've got this person, because don't forget as well, with bullying, there's upward bullying and there's downward bullying, right? So upward bullying is where you've got someone who's bullying the manager, and downward bullying is when they bully all their other members of their team, the people who are sort of like, if in the hierarchy sense, they're either on the same level or they're below them, right? And some people are masters at being both. And the other thing is bullying's actually, we've also got to acknowledge that bullying is quite a sensitive topic for people, because there's a number of people in their lives who've experienced bullying either as a child.
I was going to say.
And then when they've, at school, at university, they may have experienced it when they were younger in their workplace. They might experience it in their current workplace. This is a very emotionally charged topic. So I find as well, a lot of managers are very reluctant to discuss it as a topic too, because it's triggering for them. And it's often like, and you see this in school all the time, right? There's the bully, and all the kids will do everything to placate this bully because it's the way they don't get themselves in the firing line.
That's right. That's
right.
And
it's the same in workplaces.
Yes.
So people will often placate that person who goes around bullying everybody else because they don't want to be the ones that are next. They don't want to get targeted.
It's like
next.
one of my students gave the example. It's like the mean girl's head girl.
Exactly.
And so and when we talk about fight, flight, freeze, one of the ones I learned about only more recently was this idea of fawning.
Yeah.
And fawning is where you placate an aggressive person.
Yeah.
And I have done that quite a lot in my life.
Yep.
And what I realised was, it's actually one of my upcoming episodes, is realising after a period of time, particularly if it's happened as an adult, I don't know about as a child, I don't have enough expertise, but the hatred shifts from the person who did the wrong thing to me as the fawner. And the thing that you carry is, I didn't look after myself, I wasn't assertive, and you're just doing it to survive.
The fawning, because I do a lot of work around fawning response, especially with things like sexual harassment, sexual assault. It is a female response.
Is it?
It often is developed for people who have, so it is very common in females because females are socially conditioned to be people pleasers.
Got it.
And females are also conditioned to know very early on that if I get into a fight with you, it's likely I'm going to lose.
Yes.
So how do I get out of this in a way that's not going to hurt me? I'm going to placate you.
Yes.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you're not embarrassed.
Yes.
You're not angry with me.
You're not going to get
That's
triggered.
That's where fawning comes from.
Yep.
And the thing is, it's a survival response that we actually learn as young children, and most women have learned that response very quickly.
And what you helped me by saying that is with why did I do that, is really understanding I didn't have at that point a better option.
You don't have a choice or an option. And the thing that people need to understand, I know it's one of my trauma responses, and I know what it is, and I know all the ins and outs, and I know all of that stuff, and I will still fawn if I am under threat.
Yeah,
I will still do it, and I know I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But it is one of my trauma responses is to fawn.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it from a safety point of view, or a physical safety, maybe sexual safety, dominant safety, when I think of the times I've done it, I have not seen another option.
There was no other option, so you take that one.
Yeah, I couldn't see anything else I could do apart from try and placate and then get myself out of the situation.
And because often, especially for women, you don't see it as, I'm not saying it doesn't exist with men, because it still does, but you see it a lot with females.
I would say you do see it a lot more with
females. Because females were taught very early, if you want to get out of that situation with the least amount of harm, then you find a way to extricate yourself by not making the other person angry.
Yeah, that's right.
Or embarrassing them.
That's
do
the
whatever
worst.
To make sure that doesn't happen.
And
that's why people use it. And like I said, I understand that response. I understand heaps of stuff around. I will still do it.
That's right.
Because it's an automatic response.
That's right. It's part of the limbic system. It's as it's always been, and it's there to protect us,
It's there
right?
to protect us, yeah.
Okay, so let's take the idea of that and let's go back to this bullying person who hasn't been managed for 10 years.
Yes.
So it's not Mary anymore. It's
Bill.
Bill, that guy, man. So Bill's been misbehaving for 10 years, very badly behaved, underperforming psychologically, but also in his actual work. Bob comes in and sees very quickly what Bill's been up to. Bob starts to performance manage Bill, and Bill says, no one has ever said this to me before. You are a bully, even though the whole team knows that Bill is being pulled up for the first time. Bob's new, nervous about everything. what could Bob do at that point? What protects Bob? Bill has never been pulled up, so under Fair Work, he's got a good case.
He has got a good case. It's
So
been left to go on for a really long time.
So what is good, clever steps for Bob to take, particularly with the unreasonable fellow like Bill? Because when we talk about being assertive or being willing to be vulnerable, I heard this great thing. You might have even taught it to me. What if they weaponise your vulnerability?
That wasn't me, but other people do teach that. But yes, what if they weaponise your vulnerability? Yeah.
So Bob says to Bill, something like, listen, I need to talk to you about X, Y, Z. I'm sorry I haven't raised this earlier. It's only just come to my attention. And Bill says, you said you hadn't raised it earlier, and that's right because you've done the wrong thing and I'm going to HR. What is it that Bob can do with Bill? My approach would be to do with everyone else.
Yeah.
Ask first.
So this is what we do,
okay,
right?
Go.
Okay, so because that's a really great question. So Bob is our brand new manager. Bob comes in and Bob's been left a dog's breakfast to try and untangle because no one's pulled up Bill.
No.
Because Bill has frightened everybody Bill has made everybody feel incredibly unsafe and Bill's gotten away with it. So Bill's living pretty.
He's having a great time.
Bill's having a great time.
Yeah.
And Bob comes in and thinks, wow, well, this isn't ideal. So there's a couple of things. The first thing that I would do is I would pull the whole team together and I would do some type of training around respectful behaviours in the workplace. That's the first thing. So I would pull everybody together. Like I actually do a course called Call Them In, which is where you actually bring everybody together and you talk about what is respectful behaviours in the workplace. Like what do we expect from each other in a team? And we do we come up with a communication charter. As a team, we agree on this charter. As a team, we all sit there, we all contribute to this charter, and we all talk about what are we expecting for reasonable behaviour.
Got it.
Right? And we've agreed to this as a team. Okay, we agree that this is what we all agree. Yes, we do. We've all been in part of that. Okay, awesome. So that's the first thing you do. And then you hold everybody accountable to that. Now you might have Bill who comes in and says, now Bill does the wrong thing. And Bob goes, look, listen, mate, I just want to draw your attention to what we did, last week. And you know how we've agreed that our communication charter is this and this type of behaviour is not acceptable because it's psychologically unsafe and it's not good on the team. So I'm going to bring this up with you and give you a warning. And Bill's might start to go, hey, listen, no one's ever pulled me up on this stuff before. And Bob goes, fair enough, mate. No one has pulled you up on this before. Totally respect that. I understand this is going to be a really, this might be a process of change, but really it's important for us as an organisation to actually address things like psychological safety and psychosocial hazards. So us having respectful communication with everybody is something that we're going to do as an entire team.
Yeah.
This isn't just about you, mate. This is about everybody.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now is, and he says, you're not the only one I'm going to hold accountable, Bill. I'm going to hold everybody accountable to this. Like right now I might be talking to you, but tomorrow I could be talking to Tom or Sally.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then he goes, right. Now he's still not going to be happy about that.
No, of course not.
Bill's pissed. Bill's Bill. And Bill's annoyed because Bill's been able to get away with this for a really long time. Right. Okay. All right. So, mate, I'm giving you a warning. You might even start with it being a verbal warning to begin with.
Yes.
But Bill's not going to stop because Bill's gotten away with this for a really long time. So then it happens again and Bob says, mate, got to talk to you. Pulls him aside, has a nice private conversation and says, look, mate, we had this discussion before and I get that it was brand new to you and I get that we hadn't done this as a team before. I appreciate this is difficult, but we really have to make sure that we're following our respectful communications charter and right now that you're not actually following that. So I'm now going to write a warning for you. So we keep collecting evidence because Bill has done the wrong. We don't go back because we can't go back. We can't fix what's happened in 10 years. Can't. And we can't fix Bill going, well, no one ever told me before because he's right. No one ever pulled him up before.
True.
But now the whole team is being held to this account, right? And Bill's part of the team, yeah? So Bill's held to the same account that everybody else is. But that manager has got to be hardcore about following through with this.
Yeah, I was going to say the consistency is key.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, so it's genius. What I say to people who aren't in a position where they can bring the team together and create a specific charter, this idea of using the company, not so much the vision or mission, but the values, the agreed behaviours.
Yep.
Often companies will have some form of meaningless document somewhere.
And if that's the case and you can't pull everyone together, then you do start using those documents.
You
and
can
say,
use
well,
it.
as a company, this is it's really important for us to look at this. You can even also use the fact that, hey, listen, if you want to sort of deflect that you're not the bad guy, look, there's a lot of pressure on us right now to get our psychosocial safety right, and this is something that the company has identified as a risk for us. So I need to follow company policy around this.
Yeah.
And at the moment, this is some of the stuff that we've actually got to be doing, and I've got to be showing that we're doing something positive in this.
Clever. So I think bringing people together is genius, particularly them creating their own charter. I'm doing it with a client at the moment, and one of the things we're talking about is that it really provides a tool for the manager that they may have never thought of using before, because these behaviours are ethereal, right?
Well, this is the thing.
They float around.
Yes, it's these unseen, and this is the thing, it's these unseen behaviours that people kind of don't address a lot of the time. And it could be the person that, like, every time someone else opens their mouth, there's that rolling of the eyes.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we go, that's an unseen, but it's a seen behaviour, but it's like, well, we've actually got to put language around what that is.
Yes.
And we've actually got to call that out.
Yes.
Well, that's not respectful communication.
Yes.
So is there something that you do want to say, I can see that hasn't sat really well with you? Do you want to explain to me why that's not sitting well with you?
Yes.
And we're making people communicate directly.
Yes.
What we're actually doing is, again, from an education perspective, like I said, positive behaviour support, right? In education, we have rules around positive behaviour support, and it's all about how do we encourage people to behave in ways that are appropriate, but we do it positively. So we're not attacking people for doing the wrong thing. We're doing positive reinforcement. But really what it's all about is we do not assume that everybody knows the correct way to behave. That's the biggest problem people make. You cannot assume that everybody knows the appropriate way to behave. It's actually not fair to assume that. We've all got different backgrounds. We've all had different parenting styles. You don't know people's backgrounds. Fine. Okay. So start again. This is how we expect you to behave. You model that behaviour.
Yes.
We're modelling that respectful behaviour. And then when people aren't doing it, well, remember that this is how we show respectful behaviour.
Yes. That's a great point you make, that because we all do assume a lot based on our own background, knowing that, hang on, this person might actually not know any better. We're going to let them know better, and then they can make a choice based on this new information.
And we don't isolate that person and denigrate them in front of everybody either, because that's not fair to do. And that's actually perpetuating bullying, right?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is go, here's the new standard, guys,
Yes.
and you're all accountable for it.
And you know what I like about, if you bring people together and they know there's a famous naughty person, what can happen, I've found, is that the people that are good will feel frustrated that they've been brought in and feel like they are, so there's a way for me where you can reasonably subtly acknowledge that as a new manager. I say that, like in a group I've been running recently, I'll say to people, there's probably 3 people in the room. The first group are people that are sort of more naturally passive and hope by the end of our conversation they'll be able to have these tricky conversations. And I say, I've got bad news for you, but I'll give you the tools, but you have to practice. Then there's a second group that probably feel like, look, I'm pretty good, I'm pretty assertive, I'm pretty positive, but I hope, who over there gets the message.
Yeah.
And then the third group is, I'm all right, Jack. And then depending on the group, I'll make a joke about 1 in 3 people are assholes. Look on either side. If it's not them, it's you. Right. So it depends on the group. But that kind of thing, I think, in that kind of meeting, that bringing them in, it would work to acknowledge that you might be awesome.
Yeah, and
this is not personal.
This is not personal.
This is going to support everyone, particularly you. If you know that you're awesome and someone else isn't, I don't know you, so I don't know who's awesome or not. Of course, you already know about Bill, but, I don't know who's great or not. Let's start from fresh.
And
I'm new.
Again, you've got to, when you're a new manager coming into a team, it's like, let's start again.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We've got to restart. We're essentially, when you've got a new manager, you have to, it's like a new classroom. You have to reestablish the norms.
That's right.
And I don't know why people think that just because they're in education, you do this. I don't know why people think in any other setting you're special or different, or you don't have to do the same thing.
I think there's a misunderstanding that whilst we're going to treat employees like children, in the most useful ways, we're going to treat them like adults who already know it all.
Right. And you can't have it both ways, can you?
No.
And in actual fact, our assumptions of what people know as appropriate behaviour is really where a lot of problems are coming from.
I would agree. And even in this conversation, even though I know this area, I've thought I have made that mistake thinking they would know how to do better. Why would they know how to do better?
Yes,
I can think of someone in my own life, and one of the saddest things about them is that I know they haven't been pulled up on bad behaviour, and the impact for them and others has been terrible. It's so sad. No one ever said, that's not cool, right?
That's not right.
That's not right.
Appropriate behaviour.
Okay, so let's look at it. Ideally, new manager, you do have this kind of meeting, create a team charter. Yep. How do we want to work around here?
Absolutely.
Worst case, that's not possible for whatever reason. The company will have values. They will often have behaviours. When I ask people what their values are, they often say something about excellence, integrity, right? But the beauty of that is I'll say to the manager, while they are pretty airy-fairy for people, when you need to manage someone who's rolling their eyes, you can say one of our company values is leadership or responsibility or integrity. And when you roll your eyes, you're not demonstrating it, right? Then the person might be extra tricky and go, I didn't roll my eyes. And then we talk about assertiveness, broken recording. Oh, I get that you might not even notice, but I did see you roll your eyes in the last meeting at 11 o'clock, whatever. The other element of that is what you said about the follow through. So we have seen companies where they will do a survey on employee happiness.
Bloody surveys.
Nothing happens.
So over surveys. And do you know how many employees are over surveys? Everyone. They're over surveys.
Imagine if you've worked there 20 years.
Oh, my God, they're so over surveys. Plus, people are famously bad reporters, which is why I keep saying, when I do stuff around psychosocial safety, it is not a bloody survey. It's bringing groups together where we actually have conversations about stuff that matters. So you might have a survey to begin with, but we actually have follow-up conversations on that survey.
Okay, how about this? I say to clients, if you have anonymous 360 feedback to create people being safe, you understand that the fact it's anonymous shows how unsafe the environment is.
Precisely.
But I would say most companies are nowhere near the point of having the safety to have an open conversation.
So that's why I do Lego serious play when I do stuff around that, and I will do things like, okay, guys, build me what a good team looks like. And I'll say, okay, build what that looks like and feels like for you. Okay, let's identify the elements of what made this a really good team. Okay, so it was this, and it was, we supported each other and we had each other's back and we encouraged each other. Okay, great. So could we argue? So it's an abstract concept.
Yeah. It's safer, but it tells the story.
So you've got to give people a third space to talk in. You can't bring people together and go, right, talk to me, because they won't.
No.
So that's where I use Lego Serious Play, because it's a third space and people will talk in a third space.
I did a Lego Serious Play one time as a participant, and I remember thinking at the beginning, I can't imagine this is going to do anything.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, I built whatever I built, can't remember, but it was so symbolic. I got information, the facilitator got information.
Yeah.
I got to learn something about something I hadn't realised was worrying me. Fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
And it was very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And the reason that it works, and I use it with I use it with most of my training and workshops, and the reason that I do it, and I do it a lot around psychosocial safety, is exactly what you said. People are not safe enough to talk, and it's like, no, but they'll play with some Lego and they'll build a model for you.
Yeah.
And they'll label it.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you what's happening in the model.
Yeah.
Because it's not
It's only about the model.
It's only the model. But it gives you the information you need and it makes everybody feel safe. And so this is where we've got to get a lot more innovative about how we're getting information from people, because psychological safety will not come unless you make it so that everybody participates, everybody is contributing, but also it's free of judgment, right? And it's the space is created and it's got to be safe. And the thing is, you will not get anything out of people with an unsafe environment. And one of the sad things about bullying is it's one of the quickest ways to create an unsafe environment. It's one of the quickest ways to undermine psychological safety. And it's one of the quickest ways to create a psychosocial hazard.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what's sad about it.
And it's like, the version I've heard before about, when there's a cancer in the body and the unchecked bully is that cancer.
Yeah.
And
they spread.
They absolutely do. And because people are sort of forced to join in to survive, you will have total change of atmosphere or culture in a team. I've seen delightedly happy people join a negative team. Very quickly they realise, if I'm going to survive this, I've got to be negative too.
Right.
They're whinging about stuff they don't even feel is true for them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I'm not going to be left out, man, because go back to caveman. We're left out, we die.
Yeah, exactly.
We still got it.
And this is the thing with bullying as well. Don't forget that things like exclusion in the workplace is one of the things that people complain most about.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's the biggest complaints with bullying in the workplace are things like being excluded, people spreading rumours, and being performance managed unnecessarily. Right. And like we were talking about before, that's one of the biggest complaints that people have in workplaces where bullying comes up. And this is where we've got to get very clear about what is bullying and what isn't.
Yes.
But B, what has been actually done to create an environment where it's been explicitly taught what behaviour is acceptable and what isn't.
Yes.
Because if you're pulling a whole bunch of people together and you've actually never bothered to go through explicitly what is expected, those people have every right to argue. I mean, I know, like I say, ignorance is no excuse, but they can certainly argue it. And you as the organisation, well, it was on you to fix that.
That's right.
And you didn't.
That's right.
You know?
I mean, I think one of the things, I shared an article recently on LinkedIn about burnout, and it was talking about, actually, if you look historically, like I'm about 10 years older than you, but if you look at what one was willing to do as an employee, it's really this whole new period of looking at this with greater clarity has made me realise how much my generation and the one before me didn't even think they could care for themselves as a part of the story.
You were taught not to.
No, you just suck it up.
You were told to suck it up
fill
and bloody
all the
well
gaps,
get on with it.
work harder.
And if there was a problem, then you were probably the cause of it.
Oh, of course
You're
we
like
were.
gaslit. We were so gaslit.
We were completely gaslit.
Yeah.
And, geez, wasn't it great for organisations?
Oh, they lived their best freaking lives.
Oh,
Years ago, you could get away with the
wonderful.
amount of things that you could get away with. And this is one of the other, like the complexities of this, is we have got people in management who have been there for years.
Yeah.
And, I've been here for 30 years. This was never a problem back then. It's like, yes, it was.
Yes.
It's just that people left.
Yes.
Or people did other things, or people struggled horribly with their mental health and became former shells of themselves because they were trying to keep you happy. It's not that it existed and everybody was fine.
No.
It's just that it was approached in a very different way.
Yeah.
And the things is the times are changing, and the younger generations, like we've talked about before, they will not put up with this stuff. If they think they're being gaslit, they'll tell you.
Yes.
If they will absolutely go, no, you know what, my mental health is important, and you as a workplace are responsible for assisting me in creating a balance.
Do you know what I've realised? I've been working with some younger people, and of course I have an 11-year-old, and it's very, very interesting looking at the younger generation and how they operate. The instinct I have at the moment, because it's very difficult for senior leaders, particularly if they've done the really hard yards, and what motivated them. The biggest problem I'm seeing is what motivated them doesn't motivate younger people, right? So they're not particularly interested in climbing the ladder. They certainly are not motivated by fear. They will push back. The thing for me is there's a real strength in the younger generation around their self-care, self-love.
That absolutely is.
And I always tease people who are our age, who particularly at my age, my son's young for my age, but a lot of people have 20-something-year-olds at my age, and they'll say, oh, they're so painful, my staff. And I go, they're your children. And what happened was we were raised like, my favourite joke, I died when I was 5 and my mum told me to walk it off.
Yeah.
We were raised like that.
We were raised like that.
Yeah. And then we've had these children and go, my darling, I'm going to make sure you feel much better than that. We've loved them up, and now we hate it if they're our staff, because they actually do have self-esteem. But there's another side to the coin I'm experiencing anyway. So they have a self-esteem, they have a self-love. I really appreciate it for them and about them. Where it can tip over is a misunderstanding around what they're actually responsible for, or a misunderstanding around reality. I don't mean reality.
There is a disconnect.
There's a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
So if I think of one of the people I've been working with, they made a particular mistake. The way that and it was a pretty serious mistake for what they do. I didn't denigrate them or yell at them, but I said, this was the expectation that was set. You haven't met that. This is now the consequence.
Yeah.
You have to decide, are you willing to tolerate that consequence?
Yeah.
So it's not about in any way disrespect or anything else, but it is somewhat challenging.
Yes.
You can't do nothing and become CEO.
No, you can't.
You know what I mean? It's that.
There's a balance.
Yeah.
Its actions have consequences. And I find that and this is an issue with a lot of the younger generation, because a lot of parents have run around bulldozing every problem out of their way.
That's right.
And I'm like, no, stop. But that's not helpful. We're not helping them. We're actually making things worse for them.
Yes.
We've got to let them have to problem solve, and we've got to let them understand that sometimes here's the action, and that's okay. You can make that choice, but there's a consequence to every action that we make.
Yes.
That's life.
Yes.
That's just the law of life.
Yeah,
actions and consequences.
I think what can happen with the leaders that are finding it so difficult is I think they get so caught in the ego frustration of, don't you know who I am?
And don't you know what I had to do to get
that's
here? And
what
makes you special, and why do you think that you don't have to do the same thing? That's
what it is. So because of that ego element, that gets them stuck.
Yeah.
And then instead of just being,
we've just got this.
I'm always say, do you want to be right or happy, right? And people always say happy. It's not true. Most people want to be right. Because our ego wants to be right,
true.
right?
And that's the thing. I mean, like, and people have also, I think this is the other thing about, when you talk about how managers need to really like look at themselves, hold a mirror up and have a look at themselves. You've got to figure out how important is your ego to you, and what are you willing to sacrifice, because you won't sacrifice the ego.
That's right. And who are you willing to sacrifice?
Who are you willing to sacrifice? Because we've all got free will.
Of course.
You can absolutely make whatever choice you want, but there is a consequence to that.
I think I said it in that story, and I think people would be horrified, because most people are good people fundamentally.
Yeah.
And they would be horrified the impact they've had on people.
Yeah, I think they would be. And I think sometimes, and this is why I sort of think, it's very easy to, get cross at these, for example, like a new manager that's come into a team and they start to, be really, lower the boom or lower the hammer down on the team. But I kind of think, what have we actually told them we're expecting? And
that's right.
What has the team done before? And where are the things that are in place for this new manager? And where is the, where's the support? Where's the stuff that should have happened before? And how much has been left to go for 10 years before this person walked through the door to fix it?
That's right.
So, be a bit fair, I suppose.
I think the thing that we're really trying to have people understand, because I still think it is misunderstood from the visuals, if you look after people, productivity increases and money increases. If you look
after people, they will look after you. If you give people, most people, there are always going to be people who take advantage.
Yes.
That's just the nature of the world. However, if we consider that everybody's going to be like that, that's a problem. And I feel like a lot of workplaces are very geared towards going, give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And
yes.
I honestly think inherently that's not the case.
I think it's not the case.
Most people, it's give them an inch and they'll go, wow, you really supported me when things were terrible. I remember that. I've catalogued that. And next time you need something from me, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give that to you.
Yeah. And literally, we have just discussed the person that does want to take the you-know-what, we performance manage that person and they choose to get on board or off board. We set clear boundaries.
That's right. The boundaries, mate.
The boundaries are clear. if they don't do it, they're gone. We don't have to preempt bad behaviour and
No.
almost cause it through trying to preempt
I love
it.
that you've said that, because this is the thing that, and I'll often hear from people, well, if I create this plan for them, doesn't this mean they can just do whatever? I'm like, absolutely not. There is accountability for everyone here. So what you can't do is assume they're going to do the wrong thing before you've even begun. Like, that's
No.
not fair to this person.
No.
You've got to give them the opportunity. And it's like, we have to, and again, maybe this is a lesson I learned in education, right? After every, you might see a kid that was really difficult, and you might see that kid 4 times a week. You had to clear the slate every single lesson. You were not allowed to carry stuff over. It was not okay. And the reason that it wasn't fair to the kid is then the kid never gets the opportunity to recorrect their behaviour.
Yeah.
And then we actually never get an opportunity to correct the relationship and build it.
So there's a saying that I think I learnt when I was doing Landmark about 20 years ago. It is, people can only be as you expect them to be.
Absolutely.
People will transform when they're seen as the best version of themselves.
Absolutely, they will.
Their performance will go up. Their attitudes will change. I've seen it happen. It's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
And I first learnt about it when one of my friends was with one of my family members who I, at the time, this is when I was very young, I was having a very hard time with, and they were behaving a particular way with me. This friend came in and approached the same person with adoration, really, and the softness of their response, what they were like. It was one of the, I got that first lesson as a teenager, and I thought, that is like a different person.
Right.
And I thought it's because of how she has approached them. I've done it myself, of course, with a lot of freedom as a coach or trainer. I'm not in the trenches, and I'm very aware of that. But if you are loving and gentle with people and start with the premise of they're good until I find out otherwise, it will make you more money.
It will make you more money. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And it's not hard to approach people like that. You are always going to have the outliers, which is where we talk about the narcissistic bully, which is one of my absolute favourite topics.
If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. And if you like what you've heard about me, you can see more here.